Greetings and welcome to Flanigan's Ecologic. I am your host, Ted Flanigan, and this week I welcome Stuart Jenkins to the podcast. Stuart is a runner of major note. We'll get to that. He went on to found a shoe company called Blumaka. His company repurposes foam from the sole of running shoes, manufacturing insoles and running gear specifically designed to enhance runners' performance. Stuart is the Chief Executive Officer of Blumaka. Stuart, welcome to the podcast.
Good to be here, Ted. Thanks for having me.
And as we were saying, you're based now in Goleta, California.
I am just downstream, if you will, from Santa Barbara.
And is that where Blumaka is based as well?
It is. We headquartered here. I got up to Santa Barbara or this area because I was working with the Deckers, which is a footwear company that owns UGG and another brand called Hoka. And that brought me to this area. And I think once you get here, it's hard to leave.
So now you sent me a few insoles, and like you said, put them in. Can I slide these right into my Hokas?
You can, as long as you get rid of the insoles that come with the shoes.
That are already there.
Yeah, really, the premise for insoles such as we make is that hard to believe whatever you're spending for your running shoes, whether it's $150 or $250, the insoles that come in those shoes, the cushioning will generally fail between 4 miles and 30 miles. And they don't tell you that. And so when you put our insole in, you're going to have a lot more comfort and a lot more cushioning. We actually have tested our cushioning up to about 1,500 miles, and we guarantee it for 1,000 miles. It's funny, we had a 265-pound runner who challenged me on that fact. He said, well, I love your insoles, but I'm 265 pound. I mean, not your typical runner, a little bit of a Clydesdale. And he had documented that he'd run 800 miles. And he said, I think they're losing a little cushioning. So we took him back to the independent testing lab, and we had only lost 7% of our cushioning after 800 miles with a 265-pound runner. And we consider failure losing 15%. So
yeah.
It's not puffery.
Oh, great. Well, now look, let's jump right in. I know that your running has been a huge part of your life. I'm just going to throw out a few things here. Bangor, Maine marathon winner, St. Louis marathon winner, Olympic marathon trials qualifier and finisher, Boston marathon finisher 7 times, best time 2:19 in 1983. Is it right that you have run more than around the entire circumference of the world?
I think I've run about somewhere around 80 or 90,000 miles. So I guess I've gone around the world at least 3 times.
I had to look.
That takes a lot of wind. So you should be careful interviewing a guy that can do that.
Well, congratulations. Those are huge accomplishments. Yeah, I had to look up the distance around the world at the equator.
26,000 miles. Yeah.
Well, 24,901 I found, but yeah, 26,000 is sort of the common. And are you still running, Stuart?
Well, I think I am, but a telephone pole passed me this morning, so I'm not sure I'm running. But I try. No, I get out about 3 or 4 days a week and try to run. I enjoy being out there, and it gives me a good time to think and reflect. Sure.
How did you? I mean, I know you grew up on a ranch in Nebraska. What was it that got you going on running? What was that early impetus?
Well, I was a 235-pound linebacker in football, and that didn't work very well. And to be candid, I was sitting there on the football team, and it was hard to get 11 guys, that are 13 or 14 years old to stop screwing around. And I thought I wanted to be good at something. And I watched the cross country team run by, and I noticed that the guy that worked the hardest was in the front. And then I looked through my face mask at the football team, and I was, Walter Bonagura, my left tackle, was horsing around. And I thought, if I was over there running with those guys, I could just be as good as I can be by my own effort. And that sort of motivated me to get into running. And then I had an aptitude for distance running. I was never fast. And it really just was a sense that if you work hard and you're dedicated, you can be pretty good at something. And running allowed that. You were really limited by your own ability to work and your own ability to focus and your own ability to suffer a little bit.
I was a runner in college, and I always felt better, no matter how tough it was to get out and start running. I learned early off, I always felt better afterwards. Is that your experience as well?
Well, yeah, I mean, the old joke is the hardest part of running is pulling on your shorts. And I think that it's that
Yeah.
decision-making process and, activity stimulates creativity and thought. And there's a lot of technology around. And if you can go run and
Hmm.
let ideas wash over you, I think it's a creative time. It's an innovative time. And for me, I can get more work done on a 30-minute run than I can sitting in my office for 4 or 5 hours trying to contemplate a problem.
Really, and it's got to do with that being out, and it's got to do with the breathing, and your blood is pumping and the whole bit, right?
I don't know what it's just, it's become such a natural state. I don't know really why it happens, but I believe it's because you sort of disassociate or you're not thinking about one thing. You're letting so many ideas wash over you that you are able to process information a lot faster than you could if you
Yeah,
were distracted. And then you're not so disassociated that you can also stop and catch the better ideas as they come by.
yeah, yeah. I strongly recommend it to other people, right? I mean, just get out and get some exercise. It's
Well, I've
darn.
noticed that people that stop moving completely are soon dead. So yes, I recommend movement.
All right. So you were obviously a very good runner, disciplined, and then you were, in terms of winning races. Um, as I understand it, having done just a little bit of googling around you were given shoes, running shoes, for winning some of these races, and you thought they were inferior, and you even took out a knife, as the story goes, and started cutting away at the foam, and I don't know, creating holes in it or whatever to create it more cushiony. Tell that early
Yeah, I
story, if
mean,
you would.
back in the day, the local running shop would put on a road race, and if you won your division or whatever, you'd get a pair of shoes. And of course, the running
Hmm.
store wasn't giving away the best sellers. Um, they were giving away whatever was left over, right? And so you didn't have the pick of the shoe you wanted, but of course,
Hmm.
being a student, you don't have any money, so you're going to wear what they gave you. We weren't picky at that point, and if the shoe was too stiff or if it rubbed you, I just remember going in and grabbing the mom's butcher knife, and if a sole's stiff, you just cut a slice in it and make it more flexible. Or if it's rubbing you, just cut out the area that's rubbing you. If it was too hot, just take a paper punch and punch holes in it, and so it really led to the idea. A lot of people look at their shoes and just think they're inviolable. You can't touch them. Somebody
Yeah.
the other day was saying, "Hey, this tab is rubbing me." I handed him a pair of scissors and said, "Well, then cut the damn tab off." I mean, you don't have to teach a dog to eat a steak. So it really got me thinking about the fact that here I am 17 years old and I'm modifying my shoes. So
Yeah.
it never occurred to me that the people that were making the shoes were geniuses. And so I felt like, hey, I can make this better. And so I made it better, or made it better for me at least. And so it just seemed like an area that experience was a good teacher, and that kind of got me interested in footwear. And of course, for a runner, you don't have all the
It's everything.
other gear of sports. It is the gear that matters most. It's your helmet, it's your padding system, it's the whole deal. And so, in a sense, I wanted to make my hobby or my avocation more enjoyable. So I just started modifying shoes.
Well, good stuff. And it's interesting that, I mean, when I was thinking about interviewing you, I thought, what was it about this young kid who thought he could make shoes better than, the leading brands that are out there? And
Well, necessity is the mother of invention. If a shoe rubs you,
yeah,
um, change it. And I mean, I guess it was poverty and desperation, really. I mean, I couldn't afford a bunch of shoes, so I couldn't go through shoes. At that point, you didn't buy them on Amazon and send them back if you didn't like them. Once you bought them, you owned them.
That was it.
And if they bothered you, fix them or fix them to the best of your ability.
But then the early shoes that you got, as you were describing, were not the top of the line. But as you started running marathons, I presume you were buying top of the line shoes.
Well, yes. At that
But
point, you sort
they still didn't satisfy you, I guess is the point
correct,
here.
right? They'd still rub or whatever. So modifying my shoes just became a part of my life.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's talk foam. Your insoles and your shoes are you're recycling foam from other shoes.
Well,
Talk foam. Talk about foam for a second. What is it made
yeah.
out of anyway?
Well, and I don't know for those if you're doing videos, I have a
Yeah, we
face
are.
made
Yeah.
for radio, I tell you, but I'm holding up some foam. And if I hold this back, can you see the
Yeah.
shoes that are cut out of this foam, the shoe
I
shapes?
can. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you see how much foam is left?
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with this foam. This is, I guess in today's parlance, this is big, beautiful foam.
Yeah.
And when you say foam, that's a very sort of sanitized word, but foam is plastic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really the worst kind of plastic because it's the scrambled egg of plastic. It's two-part plastic that has been blown with air or gas or nitrogen. And once you blow plastic into a foam, it's not like your water bottle, which you can recycle and make an upper for a shoe or a garment or something out of that. Once this foam is blown, it's like a scrambled egg. You can't take it apart.
Mm.
And so what's happening is the athletic footwear or the footwear industry and you can see there's nothing wrong with this foam. It just happened not to fit into the zip code of a shoe.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just the waste in the manufacturing process.
It's the waste in the manufacturing process. So it's post-industrial foam. They throw enough of this foam away for me to make 5 billion insoles a year that will endure for 1,000 miles. Now, the industry is making about 25 billion insoles. So this means that their waste could eliminate the manufacturing of 5 billion insoles if the industry cared to use the waste using the process we developed. Mm-hmm. We had to find a way to reconfigure this. And Ted, just so you understand that we're not all that bright, we're not chemists, we're not formulators, we're really creating Rice Krispie treats from foam. So when you look at our product, this is an exaggerated example of it. You can see the waste foam in here. Here it is a little more beautifully.
All the little bits. Yeah. Yeah.
Or like the insoles that you have.
Yeah.
You can see all of this foam.
Yeah.
That's chopped up. So we use the foam as foam. We don't powderize it. And if you think of the white foam that we chop up as your Rice Krispie, we're making Rice Krispie treats. We take as much of this waste foam as we can. We put it in the pan or the mold or the shape we want. And then we have to stick it back together with our magic sauce. When you make Rice Krispie treats, you stick it together with marshmallows. We stick it together with another foam. And in that process, we're able to use the foam as foam. A lot of people talk about recycling foam and they turn it into powder or dust. But when you've turned a powder or a foam into a powder, you lose its cushioning properties. Because we granulate it, it works as foam. And that's sort of the magic. Where's my little, oh yeah, here. This is that foam that you just saw. Can you see how that's granulated?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So the fact that we can make 5 billion insoles a year in our process shows you that this material that everybody considers waste is actually a resource to make great product. And the industry will still tell you that they can't recycle it, that there's no way to recycle it. I was at a sustainability conference at MIT a year ago, and for an hour and a half, I listened to the footwear industry and the academic experts tell you you can't recycle this foam. So they're burning and burying it. But the fact is, you can use it to make great product. And, you know, our success has really come because we make high performance insoles. In fact, so much so that I think we now have 20 or 22 NFL teams buying from us.
Hmm.
We have over 1,000 professional athletes buying our product because we've found ways to utilize this foam in ways that, one, enhance performance, i.e., 1,000 miles of cushioning, 1,000 miles of protection. We have an insole that we call a non-slip insole, which creates the ability to literally run faster, so you're not sliding inside your shoes.
Mm-hmm.
You can hit a golf ball farther with our non-slip insoles. And you know, Ted, I mean, here's the dirty little secret. You know, we're on a sustainability podcast, and what's really difficult is I'm not sure there are too many people that really buy products because they're sustainable. I thought that I thought there'd be at least 1 million customers in the United States out of the 330 million people on this in this nation, that I thought there'd be 1 million that cared enough about the planet to buy an insole that's more comfortable, lasts longer, and is 85% recycled foam, so that they're not having to breathe or bury this plastic.
Yeah.
There may be 1 million people out there that want a sustainable insole, but I sure as hell couldn't find them.
But you're
And
selling based on performance.
we're selling based on performance. Our mantra really is that to sell a product that is sustainable, it has to look as good or better as the incumbent technology. It has to last as long or longer. It has to cost the same or less. Because so far, I'm not finding that there are too many people out there that will really devote themselves to finding and supporting products that are made sustainably.
As you said, you've got the most sustainable soles on the planet, but it is the performance. And I think that's true in my business, which is largely the solar business. As much as we expect people wanting to do the right thing for the planet, we always have to prove it based on the financial gains that they can get. But I have just one little question. Do the shoe companies like selling you their waste so that you can go off and prove to do what they do?
Well, we're really buying it from their manufacturers. You know, these shoe brands don't make anything, right? They contract with manufacturers,
Yeah.
and they are required by law to try to do something
I
to
see.
be sustainable. Most of them, and you go in even to the big footwear brands in the United States, and you'll see on their sustainability website, they convert this to energy.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
burn
Right.
it,
Yeah.
which
Are
is
you importing
extremely
from
toxic.
are you importing from different countries, or is this all domestic content?
Oh, no, we build our factory in China because that's where the
I
waste
see.
is.
That's where it is.
From
Yeah.
a sustainability standpoint, you can't ship waste around because it's so light. So
Yeah.
we built from the ground up, own and operate without any foreign partners, our own factory in southern China.
I see. And I've saw in your materials that you talk about no chemicals. Obviously, you're not going to talk about your secret sauce, but are you able to bring this foam and bring it together and form it together into these soles and these new shoes in ways that really don't use chemicals? Or
What the industry practices, when you mold foam, you have to use a lot of mold release silicone, and
Hmm,
then they're cooling their molds with water. And when you take a silicone coated mold with water and wash it with water, the silicone goes into the water stream and pollutes the water. We do not use mold release, and we do not use water. And so when we think about sustainability, uh, when you compare it to how other people make foam or insoles or midsoles for footwear, yeah, we use, I think, 99% less water. We use a tablespoon of water versus the competitors are using 8/10 of a gallon per water per pair. We don't use mold release because we don't need to. Um, we use less heat. Our carbon footprint for manufacturing is something like 65% smaller than polyurethane and about 30% smaller than EVA foam. But again, the carbon footprint discussion is, I think, problematic. I think you have to, people are talking about carbon footprint. My carbon footprint is, let's just pretend my carbon footprint is zero. So people are making carbon footprint of zero, and then they're throwing this foam away.
Right, right.
And they're using a lot of water to do it. So we're going to be carbon neutral. We're going to be drowning in plastic waste, and we're going to be looking for a fresh cup of water to drink. And so when we say we make the cleanest foam on earth, one, it's 85% recycled. Two, we use less water. Three, we use less heat. Four, we use less chemicals. So it's, when you think about the environment, it's, I guess I would say it's necessary to think about carbon, but it's not sufficient. And right now, I think there's a huge marketing push to get everybody to fixate and gaze upon carbon as if it is the magic bullet. But I think it's more complex than that. And look, Ted, what we do is not good for the environment. We make stuff, right? The point of it is that the way we make our foam components for footwear is just a hell of a lot better for the world than the way everybody else makes it.
Right.
And I had a guy from the biggest footwear brand in the world in Portland. I had my booth there and I said, the cleanest foam on earth. And he said, how can you say that? And I just walked through it and I said, look, he was a chemist, PhD, I barely graduated, but he's a PhD in chemical engineering. And I said, look, if I don't convince you that I have the cleanest foam on earth when we're done with this discussion, will you help me take this banner down? And at the end of it, he said, sounds good to me.
And talk a little bit about how you went to market, because I was listening to one of your recordings and it sounded like you went out and talked to over 90 different shoe companies to license your technology. Is that right?
Well, that's generally correct, but you're sort of conflating that with my first innovation, which was an air shoe where I got rejected by 90 shoe companies. But our go-to-market strategy for Blumaka, I had no intention of making insoles or shoes. I actually believed all of the marketing BS I heard from the big shoe brands who said, we want more sustainable foam. We want to recycle foam. We need more sustainable solutions. So I went out and created this Blumaka process. I built the factory. I then went to brands and they looked at me like I had three heads and said, we don't believe you can really make what you say you're making. So I made insoles. And when I made insoles, they said, yeah, but you can't make a midsole, or we made this midsole for Allbirds. And so I made product, and then they said, well, then it was some other excuse. And really, I had to start making my own product to take the material to market. So my go-to-market strategy, if you will, was flawed because I was going to sell foam to other footwear brands. Yeah. I thought that was a no-brainer, and that turned out not to be the case. And I think the reason that is that none of these big footwear companies actually manufacture anything. They're relying on contract manufacturers in Asia. And those contract manufacturers are now really controlling the supply chain. They own the supply chain, and they don't have much interest in changing how they make footwear. Yeah. And the brands don't want to challenge their supply chain. So they're pretty much captive captive audience. You know, you go to a factory and you see brand A, B, C, D, and E going down the same
Yeah.
production film. They're competitive over here, but they're made in the same place by the
Yep.
same suppliers with the same foam.
Yep.
And so that proved to be more challenging than I thought it would be. So my
Hmm.
go-to-market strategy was flawed, and I had to make my own products to actually get our material into the market.
Right. Right. And talk about your line of products now. Now that you, thank you for clarifying that. You started out with the foam, the insoles. What all are you selling now? What's Blumaka's line of product?
Well, we sell a line of insoles at blumaka.com, and that's Blumaka. That means blue earth. Maka is the Native American word for earth in
Hmm.
Nebraska. We do partner with some brands, which has been great. We have a pickleball brand called DAPS that carries our insole, a golf shoe brand called Squares, a skate and golf brand called Subtext that carries our brand. Rabbit running shoes carries our insoles. Um, Allbirds, although we don't know what's going to happen to Allbirds now that they're an AI company, has a line called Remix using our product. And then we have a sister brand called Fleks, Fleks, that we created. Was one of Oprah's favorite things, where we make sandals, flip flops, slides. And if your listeners are interested in our product, we have a code for them. It's EcoL20, and they can get a 20% discount if they go to blumaka.com or flexfootwear.com to try it. But
Oh, thank you. That's great. Yeah. How did
yeah, well, we're
Oprah?
looking for
How did
those
that?
sustainable pioneers, the people that
Yeah. Yeah. Want
that
to
are
put their
interested.
money where their mouth is. Echo L20 at blumaka.com is the discount. Tell the Oprah story. How did she find your shoe and what was that like?
Well, it's a small town up here in Santa Barbara area. I always joke that the billionaires in Montecito have forced the millionaires to Santa Barbara, and the rest of us live in Goleta. But apparently, Meghan Markle bought one of our shoes and gifted it to Oprah.
Huh.
And they had apparently already put together their favorite things list when Oprah got this product. And as we understand it, she liked it so much that she made it one of her favorite things. And so that created a little bublet for us over the holidays. And the Flex footwear brand I love the brand. Again, it's hard to sell because so many people are competing with the that virgin foam that is so toxic. But I think that brand is, if it is not the most sustainably made shoe in the world, I don't know what is. It features Blumaka foam. All the leathers are recycled or reclaimed. All of the fabrics are recycled, and it's also beautiful. And so, you just keep going out here and punching the wall to try to break through.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's Flex with a KS, right?
Yeah.
FLEKS. That line of shoes. Now you grew up on a ranch in Nebraska, and I read correctly that you still are ranching there?
Yes, the ranch. In fact, I'm going back here in 2 weeks. We're going to celebrate 150 years of family ranching, which is quite old for Nebraska. Out in central Nebraska, we were one of the original ranches in our county. In fact, the county we live in was founded in Uncle Milo's log cabin, and so we've been ranching out there for a long time. And my brother runs the ranch, and we've been partners in the cattle and ranching business since we were 9 and 11. And that's longer ago than I'd like to tell you, but I do think you learn quite a bit about sustainability if you own and operate a ranch. I love the Native American concept because I think it applies to sustainability. The Native Americans said that you don't inherit land from your ancestors, you borrow it from your children.
Hmm.
And that's just true. I think everything we're doing, and when I said to you earlier, we're not doing something that's great for the planet. We're doing stuff that's less harmful. We're trying to borrow less from our children by the way
Yeah.
we make our insoles and our product, and I think that's important. But ranching, you can't be in that business unless you sustain the land, because the land sustains you.
Yeah.
And so we're grass guys. We have rugged land, and it is optimal for grazing. It's where the buffalo roamed, and I think that we're doing. I think we've learned to do a better and better job of maintaining that grassland. Your
Being the,
listeners might
being
be
the,
surprised. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, being good stewards of the land, really.
Yeah, grassland is the largest carbon sink in the world. We all get fixated on the rainforest, but a prairie grass is the largest carbon sink in the world, and it is the most efficient carbon sink because it stores carbon underground in the root system, versus trees store them above ground, and then when they burn and decay, they release it. It's also the most efficient water sequestration system in the world. Prairie grass stores probably 23 to 25% more water than trees. It's a diverse habitat. We have 45 songbirds, 92 species of grass, mammals, and vermins of all nature. And so the prairie is something that I feel very attached to. I think it's an underappreciated natural resource, and I wish my sustainability friends understood that you cannot maintain prairie grass without grazing animals. And they grew up together, and the carbon sequestration on our ranch would not be maintained without cattle. And the grass that our ranch produces sequesters many times more carbon than our cattle produce.
Hmm. Hey, listen, great stuff. What an interesting life you have. What an interesting balance you have between your ranching roots and your entrepreneurial nature brought on by your marathon running. Congratulations. And thanks so much for being on the podcast, Stuart. I really appreciate it.
You're most welcome. And really, thank you to your listeners for caring. That's the main thing.
That's it. Thanks for listening to Flanigan's Ecologic. We'll see you next time.